chapter 5. Now remember the scripture. So sit here, remember, he told him in Deuteronomy, do not multiply horses. Now watch this. In 1 Kings chapter 5, verse 6. And all of you in your Bible, that's 463 for you fast page turners. And those of you who have markers and pens, write it down so you can get an understanding how we already preset to receive the Antichrist. Because we've measured Christianity by success, fame, and power and influence. And we not measured it by what the Bible said. Is the Torah in your heart? Do you obey the commandments? Do you obey the Bible? And do you treat people according to the Bible? That's what God's looking at. Nothing else. So you can obtain cars, homes, and wealth. That does not mean you're a successful Christian. So 463, chapter 5. I want you to look at this. Watch this. In chapter 5 and verse 6, underline all this. Look at this. And Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots. How many horses did Solomon have? 40,000. Didn't God say in the Torah's teaching? Is this any of you? Didn't God tell you? Oh, you get to turn on TV and listen to the greasy grace. Just repent. And yet not change. It's not repentance. Look at Solomon. He's got the Torah. He's wrote it, handed it, and now he's 40,000 horses. Now I want you to see something because most of you don't know. Solomon became lawlessness. He became an arms dealer. He started selling chariots, horses, and he started selling what would be today the equivalent of armored tanks to God's enemies. And he's reading the Torah. Are you in this room?
Amen. It's true. It's true.
It said Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, 12,000 horsemen. And see, when the church reads it, they always go to Solomon's wealth. And guess here's how they do it. They pump them up. You can have it too, baby girl. So. And they're sitting there. And they sow and think, Solomon's wealth. And I like that one they used, exchange of the wealth to the wicked, the finest, the last move of God. It's you. You're going to get all White Castle's money in your account tomorrow when you wake up, and you don't even respond for a credit card. Lord have mercy, God help them. Why would God give you that much money to condemn you to hell? And Solomon had 40,000 stalls of horses for his chariots, 12,000 horsemen, and these officers provided food for King Solomon and for all who came to King Solomon's table. Each man in his month, they lacked nothing. They also bought barley and straw for the horses to the place where the officers were, each man according to his charge. They were not lacking nothing. Now, I want you to pay attention to what I just showed you. The Torah said, don't multiply, right? Do you see where Solomon was multiplying? Does it look to you like he's paying attention to the Torah? So here's how you can tell today when you run into the prophet. The Bible teaches you in the book of Deuteronomy, if a prophet came, he came in my name.
Yes.
And he said in the book of Deuteronomy, he speaks the oracles of God. And God said, if he said what I said,
Yes.
that sign shall come.
Amen.
He said, but if he speaks and it doesn't,
Yes.
don't follow him.
Yes.
But here's another one. He also said, even if it comes true and it never spoke for me, he's not mine. So just because it came to true does not mean it's God.
Well,
So God said the only way to look and know the false from the real, he gave you the key. I'll show you this. So you can discern in the end of time, because you got all these signs and wonders and people with great amounts of wealth, and you do not honestly know their heart. And you look at Solomon, if you get this picture, all the people were following him because what? Wealth, power, substance, and the ability to influence, they all followed him, knowing he's not following the Torah. Some of you sit under them ungodly men, it's your fault. Knowing they're not following God and you still place yourself under them. Knowing that God's watching them and watching you for following them. All the people that followed Solomon were judged as Solomon. Solomon led that entire nation into some of the most despicable gods you can ever look in the Bible at.
Yeah.
What he did when I show you this. It said the people turned a deaf eye and said, he's powerful. He's the king. And yet none of them stood and said, you're not following the Torah.
Amen.
They all went there turning a deaf eye saying, look how much money, look how big the church is, look at their planes. They said they seen Jesus. And then you look at their heart and there's no Torah teaching. God said that's the lawless one. He said it's the spirit of Antichrist in the land. Watch this. 1 Kings, go there to chapter 3. That'll be 460. Just give me a second here. This will help you go somewhere. So in the end of days, you won't be measuring people's wealth and money and thinking, oh, they're so godly. It is what God said you better be able to discern. Do they lead my people to Jesus and no other God? Watch this. Chapter 3 and verse 1. And Solomon made a marriage agreement with Pharaoh